Oh, well, like a dang fool. While I was, I did a lot of the recording of this yesterday, and I left. I've never done this before. Left 3 axes out, so I got to clean those. This was just going to be a short video about how you could hang a full-sized axe like this 3-pound plum, got for $2 at a rummage sale, on a House Handle Company boys axe handle. Just don't know, I was fooling around on the bench and slipped one in just to see, and I go like, oh, that's not too far off. That slipped right into the eye, very little clearance, and then to get it off I had to tap it out. So I thought, well, let's hang that thing. And I thought it would be just a very short video, but turns out I like to ramble. And so a whole bunch of controversial topics came up. One is that when we report handle length, we normally report the length of the handle, but it's more important to somebody who uses an axe. What is the arc of the swing radius? And that's determined about where does your hand fit on a particular axe pattern. Another topic was the handle pattern itself. How does it affect where the axe hangs? And you can see this one is about 1/3 back. It's just short of the middle of the bit. And then I found out the Forest Service recommended that for a felling axe. And for short-handled, lightweight axes, like a boy's axe, they recommend that it sits in the middle of the bit. And you can see to get in the middle, that handle would be quite high. Another one was about wedging. A lot of people put boiled linseed oil on the wedge when they put it in. Their reasoning is that it helps them slide it down. I don't know how you can test that, or whether it comes loose. To me, it's no different than putting glue on. But the Forest Service, of course, recommends that you either use swell lock on the. It's an expanding compound when you put the wedge in, or dry wedge it only. Don't put liquid on there. Okay, and that just makes sense because you're looking for a compression fit, and any simple lesson in hydraulics tells you that fluids are incompressible, so it's counterproductive. Does it matter? It's going to be personal preference. A lot of my friends here on YouTube do that. They put boiled linseed on the wedges. And other topics such as, how do you dimension the handle? What are the smart dimensions for a handle that you're going to be using for an extended period of time? I don't think it matters as much if your axe is only for splitting, because the stump that the round that you're hitting absorbs the impact. But for cutting and bucking, oh boy, it makes a difference what the dimensions of the handle are. What are the traditional dimensions? Knob styles, whether or not you rough up your grip, just a smattering of them. And so instead of making a half dozen different little videos, I left the rambles in. That's why this is long. Skip ahead to whatever you're interested in. And to my fellow YouTubers, at the end I'm going to tell you, I think I just gave you a gift because people who rely on YouTube for a little added income, they have enough subscribers where YouTube is reimbursing them for the money that they make off of the commercials shown during their videos. For me, it's simply enough that the advertisements keep the service free to me. So the ads are annoying because usually I'm tired of certain ones that are directed at men or people who are constipated. I don't know why those keep coming up. They just selected me and said, you're old, you need these. Pick any of the topics you like and run with yours. Again, I'm going to repeat, I don't claim any expertise greater than anybody else's. I'm simply a guy who didn't know there was an online axe community. I have been an axe nut for over 50 years. And some of the things that I ran into challenged my own understanding of axes added to my appreciation of axes greatly. Primarily, I am recording them for my own benefit because it gives me documentation without taking up a lot of storage space on my own computer, using YouTube to store and record things that I've discovered, as a writing teacher. And then I was a professional writer for decades. The only way to make your content interesting is, first, it has to be interesting to you. And definitely the things that I post are of great interest to me. They are of some interest to other people, so I share them. A lot of my videos I keep private or unlisted. The ones that I work hard on that I think that other people might appreciate, I post publicly and share them. Subscribe if the content is interesting to you and you would like to see more. I don't mind if you disagree or want to debate it. I probably have settled the answer for myself. Mildly interested in disagreement, but by the time I post them, I've already seen the opposing arguments. Simply rehashing unfounded opinions, go ahead and express them. But if I see something that I think is provably wrong, I'm going to challenge them, because I also have people that follow me because they have my axes, and if you tell them something's dangerous, like boiled linseed oil is toxic or something, I'm gonna challenge you right away. I'll have another video on that at another time. All right, let's get on with the video. Okay, so before we talk about the house handles, I'm gonna talk about the house. I am very often not putting myself on the video, because then you'll see my background, you'll see what's behind me. Try to just show my hands. I know that doesn't make a very good video though. Audiences tend to want to see who is talking to them, who's speaking, not just hands, not just tools. Although you want to cut to that a lot, because that's the process they're interested in watching. So before we do anything else, the reason I don't show the background all the time, I don't have a very nice place to work. I live in a very tiny house, and it's very old, built in the 1930s. The foundation wasn't poured correctly. My understanding is, as they were pouring it, a storm came and they stopped. Then they came back and finished pouring it, and of course where they poured it, there's like a seam, a ragged seam, and it cracked all the way around the foundation, and it's spalling, it's peeling. It needs a new foundation. This back here, see the blue tarp? That is over a cistern. Believe it or not, there were a number of houses in town. I don't know if this was a widespread practice in the country, but they put the damn cistern to collect rainwater off the roof. That's the master bedroom above that. Above a cistern? You put a wooden building above the storage area for water? I tell you, some people and their notions. So of course they let that go dry. They plugged up the pipes that go into it, and there's a room in there. That tarp is covering a hole I've been chiseling at. That is that water dense. It's impervious to water. I think you call it water cement. Very difficult. I've been cutting and chipping and trying to get at it, because that's a 13 by 13 foot room in there that's not being used. It's empty. I'm crowded into the space between this furnace and that broken foundation, and I've got piles of stuff here. Some of this stuff's been here since before I got here 20 years ago. I built this when we had to replace the cast iron furnace here and put this Linux in. I took the opportunity, since we had cleared out everything, we had this nice and clean, I put in a workbench for me. I've got shelving right here, but it's not enough. I don't have enough shelving down here. I should probably make that a project. It's just that it gets a little buggy down here. It's kind of a humid basement. We're about 200 yards from a lake, so the groundwater easily can rise up in here. Ours, thank goodness, doesn't flood like the neighbors do. I think our foundation, because the ceiling's a little lower, I think our foundation doesn't go down as deep as theirs. But story cut short, my daughter lives far away across country. So my granddaughter has never been here before coming here this summer, 8, 9 years old. My son got married this summer, finally. He's 38, 37. The old Irish boy decides he wants to get married. Daughter comes to visit me, brings the granddaughter. Granddaughter comes into the house, to the front door, and starts to investigate everything. Just sniffing in this corner, going over to that corner, looks through this doorway, looks through that doorway, sees that's the bedroom, that's the door goes upstairs, that's the door to the another bedroom, bathroom, comes through the dining room into the kitchen, sees a back door, opens the back door, looks down there, sees the steps that go down into the basement, and says, "Can I go down there?" I mean, she's been in the house 30 seconds. "Can I go down there?" I said, "That's the basement." Yes. "I know." "You want to go in our basement?" "Yes." "Well, there's like spiders and stuff down there." And she goes, "I don't care." "Why do you want to go down the basement?" He goes, "I want to see the scary room that Grandpa's always in." She's like, she wants to go see that room because whenever they call me to go on FaceTime, I'm usually down here working, and she sees this background, and I'm thinking, oh my God, my YouTube audience always sees this background too. Let's turn it off and let's just show my hands. Let's just show me working at the workbench. All right, well, we're talking about house handles today. Now, we had talked before when I was doing the Foxy manufacturing handles, and because they're very inexpensive, economical. By the way, that axe is holding up. Wait right here. I'm gonna go get that axe and show it to you. I have been banging the snot out of it, and so here's the Foxy on that with the Craftsman head on it, and then of course we put the side bevels on it, and been just working phenomenally. I think I'm going to go ahead and polish these up, see if I can make these a little bit smarter, just for looks. It was hung, it was dry wedged, and that is absolutely holding up fine. Has not moved at all. Not moved at all. It is dimensioned properly. I'm now satisfied. I have discovered everything. I don't know what more I can learn about hafting an axe than I know now. Look how flat that is. That is just the perfect transition into that eye. I see plenty of eye wall past this when I look down it. That means as this goes through wood, this is not hitting wood. There is nothing here that I need. Plumb in their film on hanging an axe said, leave no hump below the eye. Like that flat. And I learned that first when I was hanging jerseys and Kentuckys, is to accommodate all of this here. When I hear people talk about they need to grind this inside out, or they need to bend the ears, or they cut the ears off, these lugs on these axes, you know, no, just look at the old-time axes. Just look at a vintage axe, take the handle out, and you'll see that they made that absolutely flat. People that want to wreck the ears and the lugs, yeah, I understand. They're not necessary. You don't need those. That's a vestige of an earlier time, probably early 1700s, when the European-style axes had a shorter pole and needed the lug to have more contact with the wood. When they made the bigger head designs, Kentucky isn't one of them, a jersey would be. So if I got a jersey back here, yeah. See with the jersey? Holy crap, son. Don't tell me you need more metal to come in contact with the wood when you've got 4 inches going there already, and 3 was sufficient. You got 3.5 with this pole, and you're adding lugs to it? You're doing that for looks, honey. You're doing that because somebody's got a preference for that design. That has no purpose. Now, if you bend it out, I see I'm digressing already. If you bend that out, we'll do something else on jerseys. Then you're not only defeating the purpose of the lug, it's counterproductive because now you got an hourglass flare on it. Anyway, this handle. See that? There is no movement. No movement at all. And I have been just punishing it. No cracks. Nothing going on here. We've got the perfect dimensions. This Foxy manufacturing, 3/4, 3/4, 3/4. A little bit thicker there, a little bit thicker up in here. No. Yeah, now we're starting to get up there. We're getting closer to 7/8 as we come up here. So I got about 7/8 up at the shoulder. And we know that right here at the eye, just a tick over the 3/4. But what a wonderful handle. So those are my dimensions. Where'd I learn them? Where'd I learn to get those dimensions? Let me show you something. I was at a hotel and I was cleaning up storm damage from it just a few years ago. 3 years ago, I think it was. And I had 3 boys' axes I pulled out, and they were going to let me do it because then they don't have the chainsaws and they don't have the expense. And I took out I took out a council tool first. Thought it was my best boy's axe. Took out the council tool and I was whacking away and chopping and chopping. Maybe I can put up, if I've got them, I'll put the pictures up of that tree I was working on. Hanging about 8 feet off the ground. Would hurt somebody if it fell down finally on somebody that came by to investigate it. Somebody and their kids or something go out over there and that limb falls on them, so I took it down for them. Then I switched over and I grabbed an old vintage head. I think it was a wood slasher, and it was on a house handle. Instantly surprised. This feels good. The council tool, I picked it back up and used it. It was like whacking it with the tire iron. But just the difference in thickness between the house handle and the council tool handle was a startling announcement. You need to thin your handles, Joe. So I took the council tool and I thinned it to the house handle dimensions. Fell in love with the council tool. Now it's one of my favorites. Next to the Plum National I have, that's on an Amish handle. Is a favorite axe to swing. Just a joy to swing because it doesn't hurt my hands or wrists or elbow the way I can swing it all day long. So then I transferred those up to the larger axes, even my 36-inch handles. Here's a house handle. Now this is from a store. I walked into a store, saw a handle with a big knob on it, so like, whoa, baby, I like that. Oh, I like that pattern. I like that. And I turned it like this. And right away I saw one side's not the same as the other. And I go, that looks just like, that looks just like a house handle. And then of course on the label says house handle. I've never bought one finished before. I usually buy them straight from the company down in Missouri, and I get a box of them, and you start, I think at like $10.50 or something like that, and then you say, well, I want select, and I think by the time I'm done they're $12.50. When I say I want select and I want unfinished. Come on. That's very pretty. Ain't nothing wrong with that. And it's only a 28-inch handle, so I don't care anyway. By 28 and shorter, when I get down 24 and stuff, I don't care what the grain is or anything like that. It doesn't have a practical purpose other than you can show people you got straight grain. This one, diagonal, it'll be fine. I wanted to point out one thing though. So I measured the handle to get my council tool handle the same, and found out it's 3/4. That's less than 3/4. It's 3/4. 3/4 right on the button. And then when you go this way, watch this, at the skinny part, now they're going to leave a little thicker here for your hand because your hand grabs here. Hand doesn't grab down here, it rests on here. So when I'm holding it, maybe my little finger comes up on there. So my hand is gripping here. I need a little bit more reference there because I use the same dimensions for my longer ones. This is the Foxy 36-inch that I did. You know, back in the day when we hafted axes, you went to the store. This would have been a typical hardware store axe. You went to the store, you bought an axe handle, came back, you got that to fit, knocked it in there, slammed the wedge in there, and then you put your metal wedge across there. And you used the metal wedge because they included it. I didn't know that Plum said don't use a metal wedge. Stop. I'm here editing it, and I'm already going to stop myself because of the number of times I've mentioned the U.S. Forest Service or Plum or Peter. I've mentioned authorities. For some people, the fact that the U.S. Forest Service is a government agency is enough to declare them the indisputable authority on axes. I mean, it is, after all, an organization that had a lot of people that used axes, at least for a long time and a little bit even today. The state and federal governments have nearly inexhaustible resources to conduct studies, gather evidence, pool large numbers of personal experience from their own employees to come to some conclusions. And if they don't share that evidence with you, you're not required to believe it. Now, in an argument, if we establish that for you, it's sufficient that the U.S. Forest Service said to do that. And you would ask me, well, what more do you need than that? And I would begin on the issue of cross-wedging your wooden wedge with a metal wedge. Is that just based on a hunch, or did you conduct a study? How many axe handles were in the study? How many of them failed, and at what greater rate than those that didn't have a cross wedge, a metal cross wedge across their wooden wedge? Or if it's about rehafting an axe once it gets loose, and that the metal wedge, because it makes it more difficult, what were the difficulties? Because I haven't rehafted as many axes as the U.S. Forest Service for sure, but I've done an awful lot of axes and I didn't have any difficulty pulling out a wedge. On the issue of soaking your handle in a PVC tube filled with boiled linseed oil or a concoction based on boiled linseed oil, mineral spirits, and beeswax that's heated up, I would have several questions right away. I would say, and was there a greater depth of penetration, for one? And two, does a greater depth of penetration have any benefit? The more you soak the wood in boiled linseed oil, the greater advantage of some kind? Is it perform better? Does it last longer or something? Because as a woodworker, I put polyurethane on a table. I don't want it to soak all the way through the wood. I just want to protect the surface from exposure to moisture, dirt, grease, things of that nature. The polyurethane's a protective coating. Is boiled linseed oil or Watco different somehow? What are you trying to do? I'm not a fan of an authority except for that authority's ability to reason. Argument to authority is one name for a type of fallacy. Fallacious reasoning doesn't mean that your conclusions are wrong. It just means they're not convincing. To reasonable people, they have no power to convince. To have the power to convince, show me the evidence and make a validly constructed argument from them that gives me an indisputable conclusion. Now let's see if I can live up to that. Let's watch the rest of this video and see places where you can assail my reasoning. If you use a metal wedge, don't break your wedge with it. And I thought, well, are you kidding me? All the instructions that I've ever seen, now this one is going to tell you how to use the wedge. One of the German ones gave this advice. The grain runs this way, across here. Let's draw it on there so you can see it. Okay, now if it runs straight up and down, you can do whatever you want. But if it runs across this way, you put the wedge in diagonally across the wooden wedge and against the grain of this. I don't know why, but that was the instruction. So it would look like that. You would put your wedge in, let's use part of one here, like this, and then you would put this across that wedge this way. I didn't make it up. Don't argue with me. I'm just repeating what the instructions were. So that's what I did. And that's the way, if I had a hammer, I would do the hammer the same way. If I did a sledgehammer or a maul, I would do it that way. Well, it seems like I was breaking handles all the dang time. And when I did an axe, I only did a few axes. That's the way I did it. We didn't change anything about this. We didn't make it thinner. We didn't change the shape. We just hung the dang thing and went to work. And if it hurt, that's the tool. A tool was a tool. Never knew until just a few years ago when this happened that you would change the axe handle itself. That what you're getting is just a starter point, guys. And this is why people think they're junky. They badmouth them. You foolish, foolish people. The dimensions on this handle, this pattern itself is so glorious. If you're a person who swings axes, this matters to you. And the people that you're giving them to, they might split some logs for a campfire and that's about it. They're not using them all the time. They don't care about this. If you're a person who goes out and wants to process a tree, or you're showing up at a hotel to fix some winter damage, you care about this. That comes off. Get these shoulders off. Now if you're taking both shoulders off, I don't care that they're not symmetrical. They're both coming off. And I will make them as symmetrical as I can when I do it. In fact, what happened here? I've already done it. I've got it marked where I look down it like this and say, okay, I see that it's a little thicker here. That's got to come off. I'm also taking measurements as I go because I know what my dimensions are going to be. I'm at 1 inch at the widest part right now. 1 and maybe a 32nd. It's just past the line on the 1 inch mark. That's going to come down to 7/8 for sure. So I got to take a 16th off both sides there. This part is just now getting where I want it. Where did I get those dimensions? I got them from the finished one. The finished one, the one that's got lacquer on it, it's got smaller dimensions. That one is 1 1/8. We're up to 1 3/8 right there. Back here in the grip, because this is where your grip is. Back here in the grip, not quite 1 3/8, but it's more than 1 1/4. Okay, and right here in the middle, right at 3/4. These are the dimensions I learned to imitate. Okay, and this is getting there. And you know what? I started doing that ones that Rod gives me from East Coast Lumberjack, and what I get from him, and boy, the ash works better. That one that I split was too wide. I want you to think of it. Well, I've got to do a different video on this for sure, but I'll mention it real quick here. Think of it like little kids in Taekwondo. You give them a square board, 12 inches by 12 inches. That little kid will kick that and break it. I think it's 15 psi it takes to break that board. And they just go pop. They break it. Now take one of the adult 3rd-degree black belts and say, sir, take the half that's left over, that 6-inch piece. Let's see you break that. He'll break his foot. The more you narrow that up, the harder it is to break because you're giving it less leverage. Same with this board. The wider that you leave this down the handle, the more that torque, when you get a glance or something, or you hit it wrong, or if you got any wobble to your swing, when you hit, you're giving it more flexion room. You're giving it leverage to snap in the middle. That's exactly what my first one did. When that broke down the middle, I had half of a axe left. I went out and said, okay, let's break this. And I tried to break it. I spent the rest of the day chopping and splitting with half of an axe, and I couldn't break it. It won't break anymore. It doesn't want to break this way. I didn't give it any leverage to break. The only place it can break is up and down the haft. And ash and hickory, they don't break that way very easily. In other words, this axe, you're not going to break it in half right there, right there. Now I came out here today to hang this one I got at a rummage sale. Now I didn't think I would like doing rummage sales. My wife's been trying to get me to go with her. She takes the grandkids, she takes children, and goes to these garage sales on Friday afternoons and Saturday mornings. And I wouldn't go. Well, I've been on disability leave, bored out of my mind, and I finally said, well, I got nothing else to do, let's go. So we went. But I don't want to see baby clothes and baby toys and women's purses and stuff. That's all I thought was at them. Because I thought if there's anything there to do with men, that got cleaned out at 7 in the morning. I want to look for stuff people are giving away because they're going to put it in the trash if they can't get a buck for it. Let's go to the north, or go to the south side of town. That's where the big campgrounds are, the parks, there's several, I don't know, half a dozen parks there. And then the $1 million homes. Let's go look there. Never would think that they're having rummage sales there. And I'm thinking, those people are trying to get rid of crap. And that's what we ran into. First one we came up to. Unadvertised. They didn't know they're rich people. They never have these things. They just put a sign out, garage sale. Put some balloons on it. First thing I noticed, there was a group of men in the driveway. And I'm thinking, oh crap. I should have got up earlier. Because most of the good stuff's going to be gone. Because men are pickers. They will get you. They'll get your stuff. And I go there and I'm working around and I see barrels full of shovels and rakes and yard tools. And I see, look over there. There's all kinds of toolboxes on these tables. And the toolboxes have around them all kinds of various tools. A lot of them I don't use because I don't do a lot of body work. Except I just finished this one. I went over and picked it up over there. I got the 4th coat of boiled linseed on it. Had to sand that down. Had to rehang the head. The head doesn't give me a lot of room for expansion. So I did actually use a barrel wedge. And I don't like to use them, but I've got boxes of them over here. I can pull them out when I need them. A little bit damp yet, but ready to go. I probably won't put more on than that. It's got a little luster to it. But guess what I'm going to use that for? Like I said, I don't do body work. I do leather work. What a great thing to smash down the stitching with. That's kind of cool. Tap together my glued up seams and stuff. And as I'm coming back out, somebody's digging through a barrel. And they set aside a crusty, ancient looking, dirty axe. Full felling axe. I think it was dark gray, covered with dirt. And I went over to it, picked it up. You could tell it's on its original handle, very thin handle. Rubbed it. Saw the plumb, that's mine. And there's no prices on anything. These people also didn't mark anything. You just go up to the table and say, well, how much? Cents. She saw the axe and I'm like, oh, I don't know, $2. What do you think? And I said, I think that's good. I guess I'll give you $2 for that. I'd have paid $15. This is $2. No tax, no shipping. Just take it home for a plumb. And I thought, I don't see anything wrong with it. But as I'm working the profile, I'm working on this. I'm trying to get that file down. Done some draw filing, done to flatten it. And of course the eye was all beaten up. I had to really file. I spent a lot of time this morning filing to get the big thick ridges off. We'll get a good fit out of that. And I cleaned up the inside of the eye. The eye walls are smooth. Usually on a lot of those old junky vintage heads, they're all rough. They're sloughing off inside. That one's good. So that's very good. Turns out I've got a paper labeled plumb in even better condition. This is the exact same head. This is 3.3 ounces. This one is 3 pounds, 3 ounces. This one is 3 pounds, 8.5 ounces. So there's a 5.5 ounce difference up here. And that's how much metal I'm missing. So whatever came off up here, it's about 5.5 ounces worth of metal. Right? Otherwise, that's the same head. And then Now I got to decide. I'm thinking, do I want to put that on Hetherington? This is an East Coast Lumberjack Hetherington. This one is in, I believe, this is the ash one. Let me check. Because remember, I only put premium handles on special heads, and I like these plums. Plum's a special axe to me. This one feels heavier. I actually got a scale because it's the same pattern and they're the same length. Ash is lighter than hickory. Isn't that something? 1 pound, 1.5 ounces for that one, which Rod himself tells us ash is lighter. Okay, now I won't have to weigh that again. Put that in there. And this one is 1 pound, 6 ounces. Hey, no, you told me 1.6 last time. Well, now it says 15.9. So there's a 1/4 pound difference between the two. Anyway, I was thinking, which one am I going to hang? And if this is hickory, I'm going to write hick on it real quick. Which one of these am I going to put on there now? And I thought, well, I'm going to go with my bigger plum because I want that to go with the other plum that I have on a East Coast Lumberjack handle. And they're also, you know, I've got a couple of those hung right now. A couple of those hickories. I have an Australian and a New Zealand. And absolutely glorious. And guess what I did with both of them? Those dimensions. Those are my favorite dimensions. I made them 3/4 inches wide, which they were very close. Cumberland puts them right very close, under 7/8, and then 1 1/8 to 1 1/4. I think on those bigger axes I left at 1 1/4. God, they feel good. They're just awesome. So I come down here and I think, okay, I'm going to put this one on a Hetherington, not this one. Although I have two. I could do both. I may still do both. But then I took up this boy's axe. I never knew that. I never knew that a house handle boy's axe fits the eye of a larger axe. Just in case you want to. So I thought, I don't really want to. I wanted to use one of those. But let's do this. Let's put this $2 axe head on a really economical. I'm not going to say cheap. Ain't nothing cheap about these house handles. They're good. And started fitting it on there. Now while we're doing this, I want to tell you something too. The pattern makes a difference. It is not just does the eye fit. And this one, it fit better. But what I'm trying to do, I'm trying to close the hang. And I've closed it about as far as I want to go. How much do you need to close the hang? Depends on the pattern. Now in a house handle company pattern, this axe does not go straight back like this and then bend. Do you know what I'm saying? It does not go straight back and bend. So this old rule about, let me see if I get this in here. Yeah, you see that? This whole rule about hold it against the edge of a table and see does it hit the middle. That's not so much a factor. Had this handle come out straight like this and then bent, that would be out here, and then it would be in the middle. The other thing I'm looking at is this. This is what the straight axe would have looked like. Where's that head pointed? That head is not pointed here. This is a closed hang already. So nothing simple. There's no simple rule that covers everything. One is how you're hanging this head. And what I was saying was I'm filing off the front, or no, excuse me, I'm filing off the back. So I'm tilting the handle backwards to get the head to come out forward. I will fill this gap down to here with wedge anyway, so that's not a problem. I will glue this one because I don't want this to have any possibility of shifting. This will get glued. Bringing it down there, it's doing gorgeously. And as I do that, I'm tilting it so that that hole fills. If it doesn't, I'll fill it. It's just coming out beautiful. But here's another consideration. How long is it from at least the top of the eye? I don't think anybody ever measures from the top of the handle. They go top of the eye down to the bottom of the handle. It says 28. That's not 28. A real quick demonstration, that's not 28. Look at the size of that palm swell. Where's my hand? My hand is not over the palm swell. My hand's in front of it. That's a stopper. Where's the middle of my hand? Right here. Draw a line there. All right? That's the middle of my hand. We're going to do a different way to measure length because I want the length of the radius. Okay? The radius of the arc from my hand. Now the arc is actually going to be back by my shoulder. But from my hand, this is the variable part. From my hand to the middle of this head. Because remember, we're aiming for the middle of the bit. Say it, we're right there. I already know it is not there. I don't see my square. Dang it. Okay, I found it. I may have to make several videos out of this. But you can see, this is already pretty much a closed hang. As you can see, the axe is tilting down into the handle. So it's not the only thing to consider. I don't want to tilt that any farther forward. I will fill that, of course, with wedge, and then I'm going to glue that to make sure that it doesn't shift. So I don't want that. I've left room here where it could tilt. I don't want that. So sometimes use glue, sometimes don't need it. And you rarely need it, but it has its place. I quickly decided not to use the same handle. The handle's really good down here. It's not so good up here. I didn't think that that would last very long. I had a Lakeside, 90 years old, that I thought would be maybe some problems, and it's held up really well, but it was not as deteriorated as this, so I couldn't reuse that. Let's look at the difference in dimensions. Alright, remember what my favorites are. This one is, start down here, 3/4 inches, 3/4, this is the original plumb handle, 3/4 inches, 1 1/4, 1 5/16, a little more than 1 1/4. Getting up to 1 1/4, 1 5/16, and then it starts to get bigger as it gets up toward the shoulder. Look how flat that is. What was I saying about that? Leave no hump beneath the eye. And right when they come out of the eye, immediately transition to the handle. So most people call this a shoulder. Some would leave a big lump here. Plum didn't. Okay. Then look at the length. They have very minimal palm swell. Not flat as a board. This is 34.5. So like the one that I made with the Foxy. If you were doing it in the middle of the bit, let's see if it still fits on there. Oh, it got wide. I won't be able to get it back on there, but I can see where it was. Oh, I have it backwards. It was right there. We'll measure. And where is my hand going to go? Right about there. That one's going to hook right down to my little finger. So I'm going to come way down on this one. Middle of my hand is right here. Go from the middle of the bit, or middle of the head, right about there. I have the 34.5-inch handle that has a swing radius of 30.5. So I get 30.5 out of that one. So pattern wise, there's a big difference between these two. Just in how the handle moves, pattern affects things. Okay, so it isn't just about thinning. It isn't just about dimensions. It's about the pattern itself. Don't overlook house handles. If you want to get into hafting, house gives you a lot of stuff to start with. If you ask for the select, that's what you're telling somebody, go pick me out a good one. They're going to give you good grain orientation. They give you just enough wood that you can make adjustments. This is going to be asymmetrical. You don't care because you're taking the hump off. And when you take the hump off, you will find that tongue is centered. It will not be centered very well with the angle of the knob. The knob's angle. I don't care. If I want to, I can go back. I've got a big, fat palm swell. I can make adjustments so I can get that perfectly in line. But you know what's not in perfect alignment with the axis of the handle? My grip. My grip is crooked. So in this case, where this one is a little bit cockeyed, it's a little bit off center, it's perfect. It fits. It's like it was carved out for my hand. That's perfect. And the grip angle is perfect. It keeps my wrist from having to overflex. If I were gripping up here, look how much I have to flex my wrist to get that to go straight. When I get back into their grip, it's relaxing. And if I'm swinging down, my wrist is straight. That is, to me, a wonderful axe pattern. That's why I have 40 to 50 of these. I bet I got more. I've got to have more. I order them 6, 8 at a time. I think the smallest order I ever had was 3. No, 4. I think I ordered 4 once. Because you're getting them for like, what, $12 a piece? And the shipping's not that much. They come very quickly. The company is easy to work with. They will respond to you if you email them. I don't remember her name, but she's pretty responsive. Within a day or so, she's going to get back to you. And she'll check on an order, or if the billing didn't work out right. If you want to change your order, I've changed my order at the last minute. They've real quick made a last minute, just as they were shipping them, changed the order and got it to me. I love working with House Handle Company. And like I said, I think they're using the blanks they've used for over 100 years. There is a little video that's on the internet. I let you look for it, that shows their lathe working. And you can see them writing, and you're going like, wow, they're really rough. I think they need to sharpen their bits a little bit. They come out, they sand them down, and they put them out. And then they get them ready to ship because House Handle Company works with large volume orders. They're supplying little hardware stores and stuff. I can't remember if it was Hardware Hank or something where I got that one with the label on it. I was just in a little tiny hardware store in a little town. Walked over, because I always just go check their axes. And because I'm an axe nut. And saw that it was not bad shape, right? So that's my take on house handles. That's what's happening to these. I am, in the time that I've been talking, which is a long time, I've decided, yes, I am going to hang it on this. I am going to hang this one on this. Just because I want to check that short radius. What is that, 20.5 we said? With the 3-pound, 3-ounce head, on my favorite dimensions, on my favorite pattern, I'm going to get about a 21.5-inch radius on my swing. That is going to be a great little, that will be my big boy's axe. But having a 3-pound, 3-ounce head on a boy's axe handle, that's going to be a kick. Hey, I'll let you know on this. Now if you see any kind of discoloration, that might be leftover. I always put, I'll give them a coat of, I don't see any on here, automobile paste wax, just turtle wax. And to tell you what, if you do that, and you want to go around picking up logs, this won't stick in the log. It just, good luck with that. Okay, let's go see what they do. Okay, so let's see what we've got left for chopping out here. Oh, let's see. We have this newest hung one. This is the first time it's ever been put in wood, except for the stump where I put the boiled linseed oil on. Then we've got the council tool. Council tool is what we're going to start with, just for the reference. So let's go put this guy. I'm going to be looking for two things with this guy. First, I've drawn a line around here so I can really see right away, is it moving at all? Okay, because we did glue this up. And remember, I was taking off the back quite a bit so I could get this to close. So I get the hang to close. Hang is ideal placement right now. It's about 1/3 back from the heel. And the Forest Services, that's where it should be. They say something about a pulp axe. I'll have to look up what's a pulp axe. Would be in the middle. All right, so we'll put that one over here. All right, we got the behemoth, the 4-pound plum. This is going to have the longest swing radius, 22, but such a big head, I might not notice a difference. Oh, I noticed that it sticks in wood. A little bit better than that other plum. And let's see, and then we've got the national 21 inch. Is that what we said? I think we said 21 on these. 22? Yeah, we'll play it back and find out. Okay, so we'll put this guy, put him in this other stump. All right, and we'll start off with the council tool. See what that's like to swing. First of all, the pattern's different. Very small knob, just a little bit. A lot of times when the guys have a small knob like this, they'll rough up their grip so that their anchor hand is firmly attached. I haven't had any problem with it. Might do that sometime. When I have such a big knob on these other handles, I don't need to do that. All right, so what should we do? Should we try to do something? Let's stick it in some really knotty wood, because that will be a good test of the bit. It'll be a good test to see if it moves. Let's see if I can get that to go up. There we go. And we'll go ahead and put it right in the knot. And remember, I'm not trying to split it really. I'm just going to give it kind of an endurance test. But it already wants to split. So it feels good. Okay, and then for reference, try my other tool. These vie for my favorite among boys' axes. Here is the Plum National, which I really like. So it's hard for me to decide which one of these to use, except I like this handle style better. This is more like the house handle. Okay, they're thin to my favorite dimensions. And it feels awesome. Boy, that might split because that kind of wants to go. Maybe one of these heavier heads. Let's step it up. Those are the two normal sized boys' axes. Let's do the big boys' axe. Let's give it a shot. 3 pounds, 3 ounces. And what did we say? 21, 20 and a half, 21 I think was the swing radius for this one. That's something. I brought an axe out. I don't have a sheath made for it yet. I'm behind the ball. Oh, I don't mind that at all. That feels good. And this handle, after I got it tuned, they come so close. The house handles come so close, but wow, does that feel good. And it's got nice resiliency, I mean nice flexibility. I don't want to quit. Oh, hit the bottom of the collar of the knot. Okay. Oh yeah. Now what we're trying to do is, I've told you I don't know how many of these, dozens and dozens of these house handles. I've never broken one. So let's try to break it. Let's really give it a good one this time. Come on, old man. I used to be strong when I was young. Let's see if I can do it. Come on, all of it. I don't know if I can do a Daniel song like Bucking does, because I gotta be coordinated. All right, are we noticing anything happening? Not a thing. Not a thing. But time will tell. You can't do that in just one outing. Look at that, it won't stick. It just, that, I tell you that you put that auto wax on there and all of a sudden you got a slippery one. Imagine if I had auto wax on there and I also gave it a squirt of WD-40 before I went out to shop. Oh, it just signed me up, man. I'm gonna go to the timber sports. I already know who my coach will be. Won't say his name again because you guys think I'm just a fanboy. Well, I am, you know. A lot of the YouTube celebrities, I'm a fanboy of Iron Ox and Tool. I am a fanboy of Mountain Man Axes. Haven't seen him post for a while. A fan of Big Ol' Grizzly, who was a frequent commenter in my channel. Fan of Bit and Bark now. Yeah, salute. And of Joe over at Mill Creek Axes. Give you all a shout out. And now see, I started a list and I'm going to leave people out. They're going to feel bad. But of course, all the YouTube celebrities. Steve Edholm of Skill Cult. Also got to think of guys like I learned a lot from, or I really enjoyed. I wish you'd post more on axes, but at a certain point, you're probably going to run out of topics. Big fan of Kevin's Disobedience. Is his name Kevich? I don't know how to say his last name, I guess. Haven't corresponded much with him, just a couple of exchanges in threads. I'm a fan of Urban Lumberjack. I love watching his kids, and I love him doing the dad thing while he's doing axes. And of course, Buck and Billy Ray, and just the art of craftsmanship. Just a ton of guys that I would give shout outs to. So yeah, I'm a big time fanboy of anybody who's in the axe community. Okay. Well, here's the 4-pounder. Will the 4-pounder feel much different in swing arc radius? No, but I tell you what, I felt that baby drive in there. Look how far that went up there. How far is that? Now he's had a little prep work done for him by 3 other axes, but he's up past mid-cheek. I love this axe, and shout out to Rod Cumberland, East Coast Lumberjack. Yes, I'm a fanboy. Love this style handle. Thank you so much. I thought I was just gonna like the New Zealand. This is the Aussie. I really like this, and of the two, I'm preferring the Aussie slightly, because I like that New Zealander one. And then now I've got the Hetheringtons. I got to get those on axes. They feel like they're going to be very enjoyable. One's ash, one is hickory. We'll find out. Okay, Mr. Jersey, can you break that? You sure gave it a good try. But I like this handle. Now this is the only one out here I'm swinging that was meant for the 3 to 7 pound heads. He's gonna do it. Throwing that weight on the end of this little short handle. I found that with the heavier heads, I prefer the shorter handles, just because I can place them more accurately. It's going to go through that knot. Thought if we tried it up there, we might get it. All right, now we got to do it till we get it. Ah, that was a good crack sound. And this time it was not the handle. That was actually the log. Oh, if I would have put him a little more central, I think that would have gone. It's cracking. Because we're going to go right between that knot and this great big knot over here. That's all it took. Alrighty then. So now what? Well, I've got these littler pieces. Tell you what, give me a break here where I work on them and I'll get back to you. Be right back. See if I can get these littler axes to do it. In fact, let's go do the plumb right now. Damn auto polish. There we go. Got to get him in there, wait. Final word. It's not moving. Make a pun. He's not moving. In the knot. Yeah, I like him. He can come with me.